Hi, folks. My name is Dr. Amy Pearlman. I'm a board-certified urologist with expertise in sexual, hormonal, and genitourinary health. And I have Richard Connell here with me today. Richard, say hello to the crew.
Hello, everyone.
Tell us about your expertise in terms of your job and how that evolved into you creating this comfort grip to help men with Peyronie's stretch their penis.
Okay, well, thanks, Amy. It started too many years ago that I care to remember. I went through tool making, plastic injection molding, all that kind of manufacturing industry. And I eventually ended up with my own company called Manufacturing Consultants Limited. And I help companies and individuals with new ideas, new products, trying to get them manufactured and into the marketplace. And then about just over 2 years ago, I suddenly found that something was going very wrong downstairs. Um, all of a sudden, that I had a bend that wasn't there before. So I started doing some research, like you do. You start Googling and finding out what's going wrong. And I discovered this thing called Peyronie's. Never heard of it before. I don't suppose most people have heard of it before. It's a very niche, but until you get into it, it's far more common than you realize. It's just not something people talk about very openly, as you can understand. So I saw a doctor in York, in the UK, who was a Peyronie's specialist, who I found on the internet, and he recommended shockwave therapy and this device for traction to basically stretch out the Peyronie's plaque. So I had a number of treatments of shockwave therapy, and I started trying to use the RestoreX device that he recommended. And I just didn't get on with it. It hurt, plain and simple. I couldn't, I tried bandages, tried tape, I tried bits of gauze, my wife's makeup pads, all these kind of weird and wonderful things that you look around the house and just think that might work. I'll try that. And quite quickly, I just thought there's got to be something better than this. The device itself, I think, is fantastic. I think the RestoreX is superb. It does everything you want except one tiny thing, and that's getting hold of the end of your penis and getting and gripping it. So um, over a period of 2 years, I started CAD modeling, designing, and 3D printing various versions. And I would say it took about a year and a quarter, a year and a half to get to the point where I was starting to get happy with it. I don't know how many versions I've gone through. It's certainly in the 20s or more. It's loads that of different designs that some worked, some didn't at all. And then you start cherry picking the bits that do work and adding them and other bits and just fumble your way through until you start coming up with something that you think, well, actually, I think I'm onto something here now. This is starting to work. And uh, so it developed from there. I then produced some prototypes to actually start trying them, and I gave them to a handful of people I know quite well that we trying to use the RestoreX as well, and said, "Have a go with this, see what you think." Um, and every single person that tried it said the same thing. Wow, this is fantastic. You're really onto something here. It saves all the time messing around trying to, with pads and that, and it's comfortable. It doesn't hurt, and which is always going to be difficult when you're actually stretching your penis. It's not something that is a natural thing to do. So there's going to be some discomfort, but I kind of figured early on it was about how much we can reduce that amount of discomfort to the point that it's an okay a level of discomfort rather than something that's making your eyes water. So after I was happy with the prototypes, I was happy with the feedback, and I went into production and had all the tooling made for these parts to be injection molded, and that's what's brought us up to here. And I'm really pleased with it. And it's the feedback I'm receiving already is phenomenal. It's it's such a nice feeling to be helping people. Um, I've never been in that place before. I've always been in manufacturing and helping other people produce products, but to actually receive feedback from somebody who said, "You've changed my life," or there's a lovely lady in Virginia in USA who was one of the first ones to buy it, and they had a prototype, and she said, "It's changed my husband's life. It's changed their lives," and it's a lovely feeling. I can understand why you want to be a doctor.
Richard, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your experience here. I have two follow-up questions. One is, so with your several 20-something initial prototypes, you were experimenting on yourself.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh. And then, which I think is great. I mean, people can be their own experiment, right? And that certainly brings a lot of value. My next question is, how do you bring up the discussion with people that you know, right? When they were then trying out the prototypes, how does that conversation begin?
Um, well, one of them was quite straightforward because a friend of mine has Peyronie's. I didn't know this at the time, but his nickname is Andy Bentcock. So that kind of gives the game away. So I approached him and said, "Would you be interested in trying something for me?" And he was like, "Yeah, great, fantastic." But um, it is a difficult subject to broach with people, and there's still members of my family and friends that are now seeing these things on YouTube of that, and they know that I have Peyronie's, and they think it's hilarious, which is, some ways it is funny, and some ways, well, it really affects your psychological health as much as your physical health when you have Peyronie's. It surprised me how much it affects your mind. It really does, and I think every man that gets it pretty much goes through some pretty dark days, wondering what's going to happen next, and it's I'm sure as a urologist like yourself, you must come across this a lot with men with their head in their hands, literally like in tears, saying, "What do I do? What have I done wrong? How's this happened to me?"
Yeah, I think part of the problem is it's never taught in sex education that this could happen. So because people have never heard of the term Peyronie's and they don't know that you can actually injure the penis and that it can present literally overnight, it's just such a shock because people don't even know the terminology to describe it. But your sort of story or progression is something I've heard before in that it's something that you're very embarrassed about. But then once you can figure out a way to not only help yourself, but other men, you become this incredible advocate for other men. And I've seen that actually with a couple of my patients over the years who specifically had Peyronie's. And now they're running support groups, they're helping people find different resources. I don't know if it's something about Peyronie's or just men's health conditions in general. We think men don't want to talk about it. But when we give men the stage where they feel like they're contributing and helping others and maybe allowing people to not be as distressed as they were, there's incredible power in that. And you've taken that to like the next level to completely start a company where you can help people. And I think that's absolutely fabulous.
Thank you very much, Amy. Yeah, it is a nice feeling. It really is. And I mean, it's great when you come up with something that works and it helps people. It really is. But to get that feedback from them as well, to just reaffirm that you've done the right thing is a really great feeling. And so thank you to everyone out there who's supported me so far.
Mm-hmm. So just for context for the viewers, I do want to go through what a typical RestoreX device looks like. And then Richard, I'm going to have you go through your comfort grip attachment and how that can work in combination with a RestoreX. And just for a little bit more foundational knowledge, as a urologist, I have a lot of men who come to see me for Peyronie's disease. So they have some type of, deformity of the penis where they have a lump bumper curve that's causing maybe an hourglass or some sort of curvature of the penis. And I have guys who just want a longer penis, whether or not they have erectile dysfunction, they're after prostatectomy for prostate cancer, they have diabetes or some sort of chronic condition, or they have a healthy penis and they want a longer penis. So when you look at the published literature, there is research to support the use of traction therapy for penile lengthening. But that research is really limited to men who have some sort of issue with their penis. So again, men who have diabetes, had their prostate removed for prostate cancer, or guys with curvature. I have yet to find, and maybe it exists, I just am not searching the correct terms. I've yet to find a single study that says traction therapy can lengthen a healthy penis. But I think to answer that question, we probably won't find that answer on PubMed. I think the answer to that question is somewhere down the rabbit holes of Reddit, where a lot of people are using their own protocols. It just hasn't been in a well-designed study that's been peer-reviewed and published. So I think the answer is out there. I just don't think it's in our typical PubMed in the scientific literature. So with that being said, I'm a huge proponent of men understanding what options they have to enhance the size of their penis, both in length and in girth. And when I recommend traction devices, I am recommending the RestoreX device. It was designed by a dear colleague of mine, Dr. Landon Trost. He is a fellow urologist, and he created this with engineers at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, probably about 10 years ago, when he looked through the research and he looked through the existing traction devices and realized there actually wasn't much evidence to support their use. And so, like you, he wanted to solve a problem. And so he worked with the engineers to create this device here, which is what I recommend to patients. So for just kind of going through some of the anatomy of this device right here, the man in his flaccid or non-erect state would put his penis through this opening. And then the kit actually now comes with these makeup pads, because that kit can be a game changer for comfort, because oftentimes the most sensitive area is the bottom part of the penis. So the person would bring the penis out here and then clamp down. And I know that looks terrible to everyone watching. So then you go like this. Okay, so it's squeezing the tip of the penis. And so this is the problem that Richard was trying to solve, is that it's great because it's spring-loaded and it puts the penis on traction. And if the guy has curvature, he can bend the penis in the opposite direction. But this part can be uncomfortable. And the makeup pad can certainly help, but for some people, it's not going to do the trick. So that's how this device works here. So Richard, why don't you take it over and explain how your comfort grip fits onto the RestoreX device and the mechanics of it?
Well, Amy, one of the things that I found really frustrating with the RestoreX was you read on the box and in the instruction manual 30 minutes twice a day, and that's all you need. So you think, great, I can set aside 30 minutes twice a day. I'm sure most people can find that time somewhere. So you go to use the RestoreX, but because you're messing around with tape and bandages and pads and you're trying to get the thing comfortable, and then you start clamping it down and your eyeballs pop out, and then you undo the clamp, and before you know it, you've wasted 30 minutes before you even start the traction. So all of a sudden your 30 minutes time is up and you're running out of time and you've got to do something or be somewhere, and that's it. You end up throwing it in a drawer or a cupboard, and a lot of people that I've spoken to recently, they've done just that. They've bought a RestoreX, had a lot of problems with it, and then they've thrown it away and said, what do I do now? So the comfort grip is exactly as I called it. It comfortably grips the penis rather than clamps it. And I think that's one of the fundamental things about it. I wanted to get away from this clamping thing, because that in itself brings tears to your eyes. Just the thought of clamping something so sensitive. It is probably the most sensitive part of your body. And to trap it between two flat sheets of plastic is, as you can imagine, it's going to hurt. So I wanted to move on to something that gripped the penis. And as you alluded to earlier, I tried so many different ways to do it and designs, and then eventually came up with this itself. Now, the thing that also I wanted to try and design was the fact that just through natural physics, when you start stretching your penis, it gets thinner. If you get hold of a balloon, a party balloon, and you pull it, you can see it get thinner, and your penis does the same thing. So as it starts to stretch, and most of the stretch tends to happen over the first 5 to 10 minutes, and it gets thinner. So you then need to adjust whatever's holding it, because it's got thinner, so it's going to slip out. And there, I found with the RestoreX there just wasn't enough adjustment to do that. So this is why I came up with a turning bezel. So as you turn the end, you can see the fingers coming in. And after that 5 minutes or so of traction where your penis is getting thinner, you can just slightly turn it and go a little bit more just to keep the grip on. So you've got that infinite amount of adjustment to keep it comfortable and keep it in line with what's actually going on in physics. Things getting thinner as they stretch.
So you had mentioned that using the RestoreX with the clamp component, it would take perhaps 30 minutes just for the setup. So how long would it take for this? Is there any setup?
No setup at all.
Mm-hmm.
You literally you take your RestoreX device, you've removed the clamp already with a clip that's just under here, and I designed it so that it has exactly the same fitting. So you literally just clip it in like so, and that's it. You're ready to go. So
Perfect.
you
And let me
put your
just show
penis
the
through
viewers
there.
what that would look like to unclamp. So this is the existing clamp right here. So if you go like this, I just push down, I push that out, and then you just put the new one on.
That's right. And away you go. You put
So
your penis in,
yeah,
you turn the bezel, and that's it. So your 30 minutes starts straight away.
that's awesome. So with this one, what we typically would recommend to prevent some of the slippage is to wrap the top clamp with some of the coban that comes in the kit, and then to also wrap the tip of the penis with coban. When you use the comfort grip, is there any need to wrap the tip of the penis?
Absolutely not. The silicone band that you can see on there actually removes very easy. It just slides off, and so you can wash it, clean it. And it's a molded silicone. It's not made from liquid silicone. So some men would have an allergic reaction to liquid silicone, but you're very unlikely to have an allergic reaction to a molded silicone. It would be very, very rare, I would think. Um, and so once you've put your penis in there, it tightens down and just grips it, and away you go. It's as simple as that.
Now, some of the feedback that I've heard from patients who use the clamping mechanism will say that after they're done and they unclamp, the tip of their penis feels a bit numb, a bit chilly. Do you have any of those similar, concerns after the comfort grip? And by the way, there's no evidence to say that the chilliness or the numbness has any bad impact long term. It just, I have had some patients say, oh, like for a few minutes afterwards, I feel that. I don't know if you've had that same or different feedback with the comfort grip.
Yes, with the comfort grip, you still end up with a very, very cold end of your penis. I think it's just the nature of the fact that you're stretching it for 30 minutes, and it does sometimes change a bit color as well. You can end up with like a bluing color. But I've found, and certainly other people who've used the comfort grip, a couple of minutes of just a bit of gentle massage and get the blood going again, and it's absolutely fine. And there's certainly no bruising feeling like you can get with the clamp. It feels straight away that you're kind of back to normal, which is obviously another benefit.
Mhm. So you said that you had undergone shockwave therapy and traction therapy. And so
Mhm.
did you notice benefit in terms of that treatment once you were able to use the RestoreX more consistently?
Yes, absolutely. When I first went there, my bend was getting on towards 90 degrees. It was like a walking stick. It was unbelievable and very painful. And quite quickly, I suddenly noticed that it wasn't like that at all. And now it, it's down to best I'd describe a slight kink. I think
Hmm.
would be the best way to describe it. It's so yeah, it has worked for me. I know that there's other treatments out there that people use and try, and I think you've just got to find the one that works for you. I don't think there's a one size fits all case here with Peyronie's. I think there'll be pumps that work for people. There'll be surgery will work for people. There'll be RestoreX will work for people. But it's. I think it's more important psychologically that you just don't give up, whatever happens. don't just say, well, that's it, that's me done now forever, I've had it. Keep going, keep fighting, keep trying to find what works for you. Hopefully you'll find it quite quickly and you don't have to try too many things before you get there.
Yeah. It's as a woman, and sometimes I think about this just specializing in men's health, men put themselves through a lot of different things, a lot of treatments that a lot of women are not aware of. And some of those treatments can be quite uncomfortable or painful. So kudos to you, Richard, for saying, I don't want to accept the status quo. For me, this is too uncomfortable, but I like the device and I want to use it. And I want to figure out a way where I can actually be compliant with therapy. I don't think we should, with any therapy that we offer, we should not just expect our patients to grin and bear it, right? And even if a lot of patients are going to tolerate any type of therapy, I think about numbing medicine, like a local injection of lidocaine for, let's say, a mole removal or some sort of procedure in the office. I don't know if you've ever had lidocaine injected before, but about 20 years ago, I had a mole removed on my arm and the lidocaine took my breath away. But so often in healthcare, we tell patients, oh, it's just a stick and a burn, it'll just last a second. But it's uncomfortable. Sure, some people do fine. It took my breath away. And so whenever I'm doing a procedure in clinic, I don't want to take the breath away of any of my patients. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I make this as comfortable as possible? And I think there are ways if we're a little creative. And so, yeah, I'm so enamored by this product that you came up with. So are there any additional tips and tricks that you can provide our audience for how to optimize the use, or is it pretty self-explanatory?
Well, Amy, I think it's pretty
Mhm.
self-explanatory. I'd like to think I've tried to make it as simple as possible because generally the simplest things are the best things. The more easy you can make something, the better. I think that, as explained before, you just put your penis straight through the ring, use the RestoreX device as you normally would, turn the bezel until it just gets enough of a grip, and then if you can feel any slippage, generally within the first 10 minutes while you're stretching, um, just go a little bit further with the bezel, just and keep it comfortable. And I think another thing that's worth doing, if you are doing counter bending, time yourself so that you do say 7 minutes at the first angle and then bring it back and 7 minutes at the next angle, and actually rather than just try and be methodical with it rather than just willy-nilly, because it will give you better results if you're a bit more methodical with how you're going to use it, and each degree that you're trying to bend, be a bit more methodical with it, I think is the best advice I can give. And don't rush it. Take your
Yeah.
time. If it takes 6 months, so what? It takes 6 months, but at least you get there in the end, and you've got a light, in the tunnel. You can see it in the distance. So that's something to aim at. So, and I
Yeah.
think if you can get over that psychological barrier, that's the key to it. And you're going then. It's the way forward.
Yeah. Richard, that's really good advice. I'm wondering if you could just demonstrate that on your RestoreX device when you say go slowly with the angles. Can you show the viewers exactly what you're talking about?
Well, so assuming you've got your penis in there and you've gripped it in the comfort grip, and then what I would normally do is, for say the first 10 minutes, just do straight traction. So you use you using the button on the bottom, you pull it out so that the black rods start shining. You've got a decent bit of tension on your penis, and then release the springs, and so that you've got that tension pulling at your penis and it feels comfortable. It'll be possibly a little bit strange if especially if you're new to using it. It's not a natural thing to start stretching it like that. And so after 10 minutes, what I do is bring everything back to the home position, so that it gets back to the default position. And then the first bend is about 30 degrees. So I would then put it at 30 degrees, and then again pull it out to the point where it's just tight, stretching the penis, and then put the springs back on and time yourself again. Just put the timer on your phone or on your bedside alarm clock, whatever you've got, and time yourself for 8 minutes. But the important thing is at the end of each little session to bring it back to the home position rather than trying to do anything while it's in tension, because you can end up hurting yourself or damaging yourself. So always bring everything back to the home position and then go another 30 degrees. So this is now a 60-degree bend, more or less, and go again, pull it, operate the springs, get it stretching, time yourself for 8 minutes, and remember to bring it back to the home position once again. And that's the best advice I can give. That's what I do, and it's worked for me. Hopefully it will work for lots of other people too.
Yeah, that's really great advice because as healthcare providers, and obviously as a woman, I don't have your same anatomy. So I give my patients kind of like the best recommendations that I've heard from my colleagues and from patients. But I think real advice from other men who have done their own trial and error using this device is really the best advice for other people. So thank you for sharing all of that guidance. So your products are available in which countries, and how do people order the device? And what website would they go to if they wanted to learn more?
Well, Amy, I've set up a website purely to sell the Comfort Grip, and it is at www.comfortgrip.co.uk. You visit that website, there's a shop on the website, and you can buy it there. Its delivery price is £115, which is around about 140 US dollars. We can ship them anywhere in the world. So far, the first group of orders that have gone out, we've currently gone to 9 different countries so far, which has been astonishing. I can't believe it. It's really quite overwhelming. But yeah, it's all on the shop. It's on the website, and lots of explanations. And there's a contact on there as well. So if anyone wants to contact me, they'll contact me. They're not speaking to a computer or someone else. It's actually me that it'll come through to. And if I can help them in any way, I will.
I love that. So for people interested in using traction, you would need to order the actual RestoreX device from the company RestoreX. So you can go to RestoreX, RestoreX.com to buy the RestoreX device. And then if you're interested in getting the Comfort Grip, then you would order that through Richard's company. So that's easy enough to do. What are you trying to solve other problems? Like, what's your next thing that you're trying to tackle? You're taking it day by day.
Um, I have come up with another invention um, to help pay Ronnie's further. I can't say too much about it at the moment,
So stay
but
tuned. We got to stay tuned. You're leaving us on a cliffhanger.
but let's just say that I think I've got the bit between my teeth to try and help men deal with pay Ronnies and do the best with it that they can. I don't think it's something that you could ever cure, but if you can try and get it to a place where mentally and physically you're okay with it, then that's got to be a success. So I have got a next thing that I'm working on, which is hopefully going to help men get to that next place.
Awesome. And if
Watch this
people
space.
want to kind of stay abreast of what you're coming up with, how might they learn if you're coming up with something new? Like, how would they find out about that? Do you have like social
Uh,
media that they should follow? What are your recommendations?
on Facebook, there's a Pay Ronnie's forum, and I'm posting things on there. I'll keep updating the website too. And I think with people like yourself and other urologists that are really keen to like explore this further, going on YouTube and that kind of thing, I think there's quite a lot of media exposure at the moment for this.
Perfect. So if they just search your name on YouTube, they'll find out any new advancements. And then if they just keep an eye on your Comfort Grip website, you're going to post any sort of new things there as well. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Awesome. Richard, what's your message for people watching?
If you've got Peyronie's, don't give up. There's help out there, and you'll have some dark days. We all have, but there's plenty of help. And I think it's really important that you speak to your partner about it, that they're involved all the way. The more you can do that, the better it is, because that way you're not alone. You've got somebody with you who's doing their best to understand, and they'll help you in every way they can. And so where you're in that dark place and you're feeling pretty stupid with yourself, you've got somebody that can just give you a hug, and that's all you need sometimes. And so don't give up and keep going.
Richard Connell, thank you so much for sharing not only your professional expertise, but your personal expertise with us today. And I can't wait to see what you come up with next.
Thank you, Amy.